Welcome to Verse Breakdown. My name is Ewaenruwa Nomaren, and the verse for today is Luke chapter 21, verse 20, where Jesus Christ said, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." Jesus Christ was saying that when you see Jerusalem besieged, an army come to surround the place and encompass it, know that this is not the normal times where God would be with you and all of that. This time, things are different. The Israelites were used to a situation where God would protect them, especially in the times of Joshua and in the times of David and in the times of Jehoshaphat, like in 2 Chronicles chapter 20. God would fight for them, but Jesus Christ was saying that this time that was not going to happen. This time the temple would actually be destroyed, according to Matthew chapter 24, verse 2. Unlike most times, especially when God had promised that he would protect the temple, according to Leviticus chapter 26 and verses 11 and 12, and Exodus chapter 25, verse 8. Jesus Christ was saying that because God is angry at what Israel had done, that would have to change. And of course, David the psalmist had talked about this in Psalms chapter 106, verse 40, where he said, "Therefore was the wrath of the Lord kindled against his people, insomuch that he abhorred his own inheritance." Essentially, God's rules towards Israel changed because he was angry about the fact that they had rejected him, according to 1 Samuel chapter 8 and verses 7 and 8, and killed the prophets, Jesus Christ being at the forefront, according to Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 22, and Matthew chapter 23 from verses 33 to 38, where Jesus Christ judged them because they had done so. And of course, in AD 66 to AD 74, that conflict arose. The Israelites or rather the Jews, were revolting against the Romans, but eventually Jerusalem was surrounded and it was conquered. The second temple was destroyed. And of course, then the diaspora began, and well, we know the rest from there. Now, in Matthew chapter 24 and verses 15 and 16, Jesus Christ gave a prophecy similar to this, except it was a prophecy now, not just a kind of event that would happen 30 years from now. It was now, in the time to come, thousands of years from now, this is going to happen. He said in Matthew chapter 24 and verses 15 and 16, "And when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." You can see it's more like a real prophecy that's going to happen way into the future, because it's set in a more vague light, the abomination of desolation and all that, while the Luke account is referring to a more specific timeline. But we should understand that Matthew chapter 24 and verses 15 and 16, and of course in a way Luke chapter 21 verse 20 as well, is fulfilling in our time, because secularity or worldliness, that new way of thinking that has begun to take over the world, has surrounded Jerusalem, which is no more a physical city in God's eyes, but rather it is spirituality, holiness, worshiping God. There has been a new way of thinking, which, according to Revelation chapter 11 and verses 17 to 18, arose because humanity wanted to rebel against the fact that Jesus Christ has come. When God appointed Jesus Christ as head and king over God's glorious government, according to Psalm chapter 21 verse 3, humanity said that we don't want this person to rule us and to bring spirituality back. We want to move on from spirituality. Starting from the French Revolution and even before that, and if you look at it now, secularity has pretty much taken over the world. It's surrounded spirituality so that it comes from everywhere. It comes from your TV. It comes from your family members. It comes from your co-workers. There's no place you can go in this world where you're going to avoid ways of living that are void of spiritual laws and decency. And of course, this is in fulfillment of places like Amos chapter 8 verse 11, a famine of the Lord, where that zeal that people would have to worship God would cease. But we should follow Jesus Christ's advice in verse 16 of Matthew chapter 24. "Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." Physically, fleeing in the mountains was to take refuge, to escape from the destruction. And in our time, that refers to using the wisdom of God to walk in the light. We're not going to live the life that most people are living. We're going to understand what's happening and use the wisdom of God to structure our lives so that it does not fall into the trials and temptations and other things that most people have to go through in this world because they don't know what Jesus Christ is doing. And Jesus Christ spoke about this in Luke chapter 21, verse 36, where he said, "Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man." And that is where I'm going to stop on discussing that verse, Luke chapter 21, verse 20, which once again reads, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. God bless you.